Well, g'day, Aarom, and welcome to the Al Black Show. It's good to have you on board.
Nice.
Mate, things are good. Things are good. I think things are better for me today than they are for you.
Yeah. Look, it's a bit shady.
Yeah, right. I did like
times.
the fact that when you first agreed to the interview, you were like, I said maybe 11 in the morning. You're like, oh, look, I think I'll be DJing and partying like the night before. I think we might have to make it a bit later. And then you were like, look, there could be a few randoms lying around the apartment when you rock up, just going to step over them. So,
which I'm still not sure if that is a thing or not, because I woke up this morning and I walked the dogs and came back and I heard a sound upstairs and then realised there was a friend.
Oh, you're kidding. You've forgotten.
Yeah, totally
yes. The rock star lifestyle.
Yeah, guys, like.
All right, so and just for anyone that's not watching it on YouTube, we've got a couple of four-legged friends with us. So when you hear things like that, they're just having a bit of a shake. So do you want to intro the dogs as well?
Wolfgang, over here.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Wolfgang and
this is Wolfgang, and that's Naji. He's less inclined, Naji.
And they're so famous they've even got their own Facebook page. I think.
They do,
don't they? Yeah,
and an Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, they're on Instagram too. Right. Okay. Rocking those social media channels. All right, now, and also for the benefit of those who are not watching on YouTube, who are listening, you've got one of the most impressive heads of hair, I think, in the whole of WA. How would you describe that ensemble that sits atop that cranium of yours, sir?
I guess the usual is like people will be like, oh man, like sick hair, how long have you had that? And the general answer is I'd like to pretend I'm funny and just coming up with it a first time every time, but it's just like too long, like
right. That's
the general response.
How long you had it for?
Almost 20 years,
Jesus,
I'd say.
right,
so sometimes I'll get ID'd at like a club or something, and I'm like, still got it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the irony, of course, is that my hair is actually older than the person asking me for ID.
That's
sometimes.
Gold. That is gold. All right, now I actually remember one of the first times we met, the hair actually turned out to be pretty handy because I think we were at some sort of special event somewhere, and I wasn't even living in Perth. I was here as part of our work, and I was like, I didn't really know anyone, and then I was like, shit, I've lost Aarom. I can't. And then I turned around and it's like, there's the hair just moving along the top of the crowd.
It's basically the reason why I still have it is so that my partner can find me in a festival. Or,
right, yeah. And can you adjust the height of it there with that thing you've got?
So if it's a sort of a tall crowd, I'll pull it up a little bit.
Yeah. Have you got any other funny anecdotes about that hair? Has it ever got you into trouble, or has it got you?
Yeah, look. The reason why I got it was because I have kind of like wavy, curly-ish hair that I hated and I wanted to style, and the stupid thing about it is that I thought I'd get dreads, and the sort of stereotype of it is that you don't have to care for it.
Of course. Yeah. I've heard that one.
You don't wash your hair or whatever. Not that I'm that sort of person, but it totally backfired because it actually takes longer to maintain it than if I just had a normal haircut. So like, for instance, when I have my dreads done, it's sort of like a 3-hour process where it might have been a while since you've felt this, but when someone pulls a hair like in your temple, it's not a nice thing, and they kind of like really pull it, and so you've got this like extreme sort of like and so you'd sort of, when I started off, you combat it by like, okay, so I'll plan it for when I've got a hangover, because I'll be sort of like a bit, numbed to pain.
Right.
Worst idea.
Right, okay.
And so over the many years, there's many lessons I've learned from it, but the reason why I still have it is probably ultimately because it gets me into funny situations. So it's a conversation starter.
Yeah, definitely.
And I would say, like, maybe 50% of the people that I've met and actually become friends with started off with, for some reason, this idiotic haircut.
Yeah. Because I think it's quite disarming. It's like you see someone with hair like that and you're like, I reckon this dude's all right. Like, I've never spoken to him, but he's probably going to be all right. Yeah.
In between a homeless person, but he seems approachable.
Yeah. A friendly kind of Darrow, like.
Exactly.
Okay, well, enough about that here, and it's time to wind the clock right back. So I want to go back to 1997.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you were finishing up year 12.
Yeah.
As the runner-up Ducks in your school. Congratulations.
Where did you get
Well, mate, you know, I have my
research.
sources. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean,
and the Citizenship Award.
Oh, what was that? Oh, the Principals Award.
Principals Award.
Yeah.
You know more about me than I do.
There you go. So, what's that award all about? Just about being a nice guy, or?
Yeah, I guess sweet talking myself into situations. No, like I've always had, I guess, a love of helping people.
Yeah.
So that's really what that was. I was on a bunch of committees and was, you know, started a number of projects when I was in high school to, I guess, make the world a better place or whatever, even though it was very small and stupid things. But that's where my sort of philanthropic kind of roots started to grow, I guess, in high school. So
cool.
Yeah.
So you know,
or I paid them off.
Like. Yeah, exactly. They got that 50, did they? So I mean, doing so well with the whole runner-up as a Ducks thing. You know, were you a bit of a geek in school, or were you just sort of refining those work hard, play hard fundamentals? Because I think you're definitely one of those people that I would say work hard, play hard type these days. Anyway.
Yeah, completely. I've always been like that. So it's probably to my detriment in many cases. So during high school, I did a horrible job of starting. You know, I guess I discovered parties and alcohol and and girls, and you know, it was a very exciting world. It's where
a good trifecta, that
studies,
one. They kind of go hand in hand.
Studies just fell by the wayside, I suppose. But it was. I mean, I grew up in sort of a low socioeconomic area where you had to kind of, at the same time, fight to become something, I suppose.
Yeah,
as
right.
well. And so, and you know, like not a whole lot of people were fighting, I suppose. And it's been interesting to see many of those people go by the wayside, but also funny to go to a high school reunion, for example, where everyone is actually like earning more money than you because they're working as a plumber.
Right.
And then the joke's on you. You're like, damn, I shouldn't have done well at school.
Exactly. It came back and bit you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing, you know, like you just mentioned that they've gone off and become trades. Had you already decided at that point that your career was pretty much going to be around arts, culture, music, that sort of thing? Or
right. I've always liked so I do, you know, you asked in terms of a geek and stuff, and I guess I have a very kind of a scientific maths sort of based mind, but I am very passionate about creativity.
Sure.
And so for me, I've pursued, I suppose, a career trajectory that has no dollars as the goal that I'm trying to achieve, but rather some kind of contribution to the world, whether, you know, like I did art, for instance, when I was in high school, and you know, like for me, probably out of all the achievements I was that I'd place up there was, you know, I was like the only person I think still to have something exhibited in the Art Gallery of Western Australia.
Yeah, right. From your school? Or?
It was just for the perspectives, like the you know, art collection from the schools. But for me, that was just, you know, like that sort of cemented that idea of like you can create something that has a message and has a meaning that can be conveyed to other people, that maybe it can change their thoughts or make a difference in, you know, this is like naively talking because no one gave a fuck probably. Right. But you know, like at the time it was really poignant kind of moment of like, oh, I've created something and someone's kind of validated it, and that's a message that you can do with art, you know, like maths and science. It's very black and white, and those are the sums of the parts, and
it's either right or it's wrong.
Exactly. Whereas art is something to think about and something to question, and for me that was that's always been something that excites me, I suppose. Yeah.
Have you still got it?
Yes, I
somewhere,
do.
somewhere in the
Oh man, there's a lot of stuff here.
Arrow HQ. There is a lot of stuff in this apartment, a lot of cool stuff in this apartment.
Yes.
All right, so basically you finished school, you went off to Murdoch Uni, did a media degree, and then you did a postgrad in education. Now I know you got excellent grades at uni as well, but did you get to smash it up there as well, or were you just boom, head down, bum up, and study?
This is me we're talking about. I think you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I was a terrible student.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, it started in high school, and I'd probably had more contact with the principals than. In fact, recently, a friend of ours, or a friend of my mum's, was she knew me because her friend, who was the principal at the time, spoke about me, but they didn't realise that it was this same person. And basically, it was that like he's got so much potential, but he's a fucking nightmare. Like,
yeah, exactly.
He needs to be heads down, bums up.
And
it's not really my style, I guess. I'm all about enjoying life, but also, you know, producing what you need to when it counts as well.
Yeah.
So,
have you got any funny stories from around those early uni days? Any parties or?
I was saying in an area, let's be honest, that I never felt a part of, or I never felt like I belonged. So, and again, that has made me the person that I was, because it took me a while to realise, well, you don't need to belong. Like, be yourself, and
of course,
and you know, forge your own path, I guess. And so when I went to university, it was definitely like I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna be whoever I am. And it's funny, someone showed me a picture the other day, and I'm like, oh my God,
of you. Yeah.
You know, like, oh wow, I was on a journey. Let's say that.
Right, okay.
And as you need to be, but for me, university was all about enjoying and experiencing and engaging and discovery, I suppose. But I moved out of Gosnells as soon as I could, or Huntingdale. Yeah, Huntingdale.
Is that the upper end of Gosnells?
Exactly. You know, the Gosnells would get fish and chips, and we get fish and chips and sriracha sauce.
Yeah, right. Okay.
That's not a thing, actually. Sriracha was sold there. So I moved out, and I was lucky enough because I had an amazing relationship with my grandma, who kind of nurtured all this sort of creativity, and she gave me a house to rent for, I think it was like $50 a week.
Nice.
And I think she probably looks back at that and goes, that was a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. The house got trashed. Yeah.
Complaints from the neighbours every sort of weekend.
But did you have, because you were actually lecturing and you were tutoring and editing the uni magazine as well, so did you have to kind of like, you know, watch what you were doing a little bit because you had these other responsibilities, or
it was an interesting one, because I you know, like, I've never been one to judge people or define people by what they do or where they come from and all that sort of stuff, which becomes problematic if, you know, you're out and you're partying and then your students are there.
Right.
Like, hang on,
time and place.
Hang on. So there was a little bit of that, and I had the record at that time of being the youngest lecturer ever, I think, at Murdoch Uni. Yeah. And so you can imagine, I was 21, I think, when I started lecturing, or maybe 22.
Yeah.
And you know, you give a position to someone like that is young, and you know, maybe I was slightly older in terms of my maturity or whatever, but I was also probably the most immature person of all time.
Yeah.
and still to this day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
last night as an example,
exactly.
Yeah.
Do not know my age, and I never have. So that I guess was interesting. But for me, it was so I used to start off lectures you know, it wasn't a massive course. It was probably about like maybe 120 people, I guess, maybe 150 when it was peaking. But I'd sit at the back of the lecture theatre for the very first session, and I'd just sit there and start talking to the people around me and stuff, and like, you know, and they're like, oh, you know, like all real nervous, their first years and stuff. And sort of just absorbing, and then I'd just sort of stand up and start the lecture from there, and they're like,
Oh, that was the lecturer. Yeah.
Kind of thing, and just
like
to
one of them was like, oh yeah, I've heard the lecturer's a right prick or whatever, and you're like, all right, and you just stand up, and it's like, hey, yeah.
Just to delineate, I guess, sorry, break down the boundaries between a teacher is not an all-knowing, all-seeing kind of like don't. So I think the best students are the ones that actually question the world and you know, like if a lecturer was to give everything and they accept it as the truth, and particularly obviously in the creative arts, then you know, I don't think that's really learning in terms of like, or not the higher kind of learning. It's to question and to wonder. And so for me, being a part of and not saying, oh, I am this sort of pedestal that you must absorb every word that comes from me, but rather, you know, I guess engage with me and we'll learn together.
Absolutely.
And for me, life
for sure.
Life is a learning kind of, you know, we're all students of.
It's like you're running the debate type thing, you know, or you're running the discussion. That's what you're there for, and sort of guide it, you know. And how did you find that experience? I've been so young, like, and doing all that was all right.
Yeah. I loved it. Like I was saying, it was. You know, I was seeing a lot of my students out, and partying and stuff, and that was probably the danger of it, and also they'd see me and know that I've got like a lot of assignments to mark, like in the next 24 hours. Kind of
That's right. I remember from uni, and then like, you know, you'd be looking forward to getting your depends which stage. When I was first at uni, I wouldn't want to get my marks back, but as I got better at it, you know, like it's like you'd be keen to. So when the teacher didn't have them ready, you'd be like. And they could say anything, but if you see them out at 5 a.m, it's like,
don't really have
I'm calling bullshit on that one.
And I'm also so speaking of work ethic, like I'm a very obsessed person to make something be finished, I guess, and that was a terrible frame of saying, but you know, like if I'd have an assignment due, I would stay up all night. So there were a lot of days at uni that was. Probably the dangerous thing with me is that, you know, I'd literally stay up all night marking stuff and then come in the next day to do a shoot or whatever, and having not slept at all. But, but having said that, I've always had an ability to somehow disguise how bad I really feel.
Right. Again, maybe it's the hair, it kind of diverts people's attention,
exactly.
You know, like...
Except I come in looking like the Addams Family with it just like covered. That's when you know it's...
when it's all gone Pete Tong, now, you've spent a number of years in radio, whether it's a lecturer or a presenter, including a massive 15 years with RTR FM. How did you get that first gig back in 2004 with RTR, and how has your role evolved at the station?
So it was Rock Riley, who is a rock of the station. Sorry to use a cliche in that, but she's a very dynamic kind of person, and I think she touches a lot of people in special ways that meet her, and for me, usual story, drunk at a bar and talking about RTR, and yes, she introduced me to the people at the time, and so I ended up doing Morning Magazine, which I think my first morning magazine, like there might be, I'm sorry, a bit of a disclaimer here, there might be a few drunken stories.
That's okay, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for.
And
so who's Rock Wiley?
She is, she's been a DJ at
DJ,
RTR
right, okay,
and out and about town, great music selection. Just a generally amazing human being.
Great.
And yeah, I mean, I didn't really know her that well at the time, but she was just very generous with the introductions and stuff. And then, I started doing Morning Magazine. So that's basically a program that, was 3 hours of current affairs and news and that sort of stuff. So that was my jam in terms of, and particularly at that time in my life, I was, all about discovering the world and stuff. So the opportunity, I guess, to interview, it was like 6 to sometimes 8 people in a program was amazing. But The problem was also that it was happening at a stage of my life where I was partying a lot.
Yeah, right.
So, and so sometimes I'd come in and I hadn't been home
the
night before, kind of thing, and it's like, oh, okay, we're interviewing who? Like 10 minutes before the interview, like
trying
between, let's play a long song, and then you'd discover. And obviously I wasn't doing as much research as you've done, basically.
Yeah. Well, I went to bed last night. That's the difference.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I'll learn that lesson one day.
Yeah.
Probably not soon.
Now, I've, the Golden Apples of the Sun show, which is on a Sunday from 2 till 4. So I guess if anyone wants to listen to these shows, everything's online. So go head to RTR and check it out. So the Golden Apples of the Sun show, it sounds pretty out there. So just for the benefit of those that haven't heard it, here's the show's description from the RTR website. Each week, different presenters curate unique personal journeys through psych-tinged realms, pastoral folk, glitch, lo-fi electronica, hauntology, and hypnagogic pop.
Yeah. What a load of wank.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Enjoy finding yourself transported to a world beyond time, where the past and future intermingle in sun-dappled, hallucinogenic soundscapes of strange and beautiful music. I don't think I'll be ready for work on a Monday morning if I tuned into that show on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, do not register.
Did you write that?
Had 10 tabs of acid.
Yeah, before they wrote it, or is that before every show? Now, here's the overview of last week's show.
Yeah.
Today's show, I'm going to need to help with one of the pronunciations here. Today's show is all about German electronic music from early Comic. It means cosmic.
Oh, cosmic. Oh, right.
Comic
German.
Yeah. So I'm not up on my German. Cosmic sounds to minimalist and machine-like experimental techno, to the jazz, dub, reggae, and ambient-influenced avant-garde sounds of modern German electronic artists like Andrew Pickler, Bernd Friedman, and Jan Jelinek. So Jelinek, sorry. So I'm assuming with that show you're not chasing a commercial crowd. Just
what do you mean? Hauntology, Bieber? Like,
what the fuck is Ontology? And what's the other one I was looking at? It's which a good pastoral folk. I was like, is that something people do in the country or something? Country people.
Pastoral comes from pastors' religious-based hymns and stuff. In those contexts. But so that's a program that is coordinated. So I coordinate Trainwreck, which is which
we're getting to that.
All right, so I'll wait for it. But it's a very different sort of. It's like let's bang on, like let's play bangers.
Yeah.
Which is the extreme opposite of that. Where you get to play stuff that is. I guess going back to creativity, it's probably the extreme, not extreme show on RTR. There's a difficult listening, for instance, which is kind of beyond my taste,
capacity.
Probably. Like there's only so long I can listen to a hammer sort of with the echoing effect of.
It's like break out the ketamine.
It's on a Sunday night as well. By that stage, I'm just like, man, kill me now.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, no disrespect to those guys.
Of course, yeah. I love hammers.
Big love to Cal. I love hammering.
Yeah.
So that is for the last 50 years.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy Claude Monet that does that, he has impeccable music tastes on the spectrum of being creative, and so for me that's a great avenue to play music that you can't play when you're DJing, or you know, like even at home sometimes it's maybe hasn't got a place for it, but on that program it's about conceptualizing an experience and a journey for the listener as opposed to just playing songs. It's not about playing songs, it's actually about so in that case that you're talking about, I didn't listen to that show, but they picked a theme, as they often do, and then they'll take you on a journey to experience and learn. So for me, I love that show because I listen to other presenters doing it and I learn a ton load from that journey, you know, like all those sort of music, you know, genres and stuff, and then you're like, wow, I didn't know what that was before, but now I've heard a little sample and I love it, and then you jump on on the internets, and next thing you know, you're a hauntology expert.
Yes, you're all over that hauntology stuff. So now, okay, you briefly touched on it before. We'll get on to Trainwreck. Definitely one of my favourite names for a radio show. Love it. Now, can you tell us in your own words? Well, you pretty much did just before. It's about playing bangers, but I mean, it's not full commercial bangers. It's still pretty left field. A lot of the stuff.
Totally. Yeah. So really, what it's about, and it's not so much again about the songs necessarily that are played, but it's about highlighting the local talent and occasionally interstate or international. But really, the bread and butter for it is about sourcing great talent that we have here in Perth, and giving them a pedestal to share whatever genres, whether it's hauntology bangers, to like,
does hauntology have bangers or?
Man,
I haven't lived, obviously, right? I'll meet you here next week, and you can just
when this interview is on.
Oh mate, yeah. I'll get the beers in.
But on a serious note, it's everything from techno to house to hip hop to probably some of my favourite sets are the live sets when we have people in that some person will come in with like a synth, some like effects units and like acoustic guitar or something, and that's where the magic really happens is that bring what they do in a setting that's normally in a club, but bring into a studio where you can kind of do whatever you want as well. So some of the artists that we get in, they might be a house DJ, but they're like, you know what, like I don't want people to listen to this. I've really been digging hauntology of late, so I'm going to show people another side of myself as well.
I'm going to bring my ukulele.
Cool yes. Al Black, you're getting on the show again.
Yeah,
ukulele.
I will. I'll dig it out. It's somewhere in the back of some cupboard. But it's called Trainwreck. Everyone knows what a Trainwreck is when it comes to the mix. And you also ask everyone who comes on the show, what is their best or worst, however way you look at it, Trainwreck experience. Yeah. Do you have one yourself?
Oh, shut. This is like reversing the interview process. I feel very disabled by this.
Have you ever, whatever it is? I mean, because you probably
every day now, my life is a train wreck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Last night, case in point again.
Exactly. Look. The usual sort of story of sometimes when you're listening to the headphones, and you've got it turned on to cue as opposed to mix, and you think you're doing a really good mix, and then you take the headphones off and you're like, and it's like completely
people are looking at you funny.
Absolutely screwed. Yeah. So that's about every second mix I do. But no, like
that's what happens when the drink tabs are so generous. It's just like, well, mistakes are going to get made.
Why would you serve someone 10% beers?
I know. I've got a couple of friends of mine, DJs, well, Ben Renner, and Dom down Frio Way. They call them Al Black moments. So I'm better at not doing them these days. But
the funny thing is, like for me, in some ways, the most boring DJs are the ones that are like technically smooth as all hell, and you listen to it and you're like, yeah, I reckon that's probably about 117 BPM or, around about there.
Yeah.
You drink a couple of drinks, maybe you leave for a bit, you come back and you're like, that's still on 117. And it still could be traded for the exact song that was playing before. So for me, like some of the best DJs, and I listen to a lot of, podcasts or the Al Black show all the time soon.
All the time soon.
Like for example, yesterday I was listening to the DJ Vadim mix, and it starts off and it's some of like honestly the worst DJing I've heard. But it's about the track selection. It's about playing some stuff that actually don't go together really, but it's kind of like done something that it makes sense in terms of a listening experience.
Now you've also done some spots on Nova and Triple J, I believe. How did those gigs come about?
So you would know because it was related to SPA or Street Press Australia.
Yes.
I guess the Nova one we did sort of a cross collab with them, and it was basically like a gig guide when Nova was trying to engage audiences that listen to music that is maybe not just Justin Bieber and stuff.
Yeah.
Like who knows whether people went to any of those gigs that we were talking about.
Yeah, right.
Probably like, who's that? That sounds rubbish.
Yeah.
But again, trying to promote artists, and so there was a bit of local content and things like that, and so it was a good outlet to try and convince people of the beauty of going to see a live act that actually comes from your hometown, I guess.
Yeah.
Triple J was a segment that was about reporting on WA music. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess that's the theme of a lot of stuff that I've done, of trying to promote where you come from and the incredible sort of depth of artists that we have here.
Yeah. Well,
And,
there was that documentary years ago, There's Something in the Water.
Yeah. It's funny, I mean, something in the water, it's one of those
I haven't seen it myself, actually.
And now that you're a Perth person,
Yeah, I know. Like,
it was a great experience though, because at the cinema where they did the the opening session, I guess, it was just every artist that you knew kind of thing, and there was such a great camaraderie amongst everyone, and like someone would say a bad joke on screen and everyone's like,
oh nice, yeah.
but sincerely, it was just it was actually a beautiful moment of realizing that Perth is like everyone kind of felt proud, and I think Perth is for me, it's actually a great thing about Perth is that we're not like an egotistical city, but it was also a moment where we kind of reflected on, we're like, actually, you know what though, like, not saying there's something in the water, but there was, there's actually talent here. We should be a little bit prouder about
definitely,
like who we are and where we are, and the sort of, if you look at the percentage of the population compared to the output that we have, it's actually pretty impressive. And it's an easy thing to dismiss and be very humble about it, and whereas that was a moment about going, you know what, like, I don't want to be a wanker about it, but
we're pretty good.
We're not bad. We're punching above our weight, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so your media career also has got onto the screen. You've done a bit of TV as well.
This being the screen? Or?
No. Didn't you do a show called Cut and Paste?
I haven't got a face for TV, let me tell you that.
Didn't you do a show called Cut and Paste?
Yeah, so you did some interviews. Basically, it was a street kind of urban-styled audio magazine, which at the time was the first of its kind. A very good friend, John McIver, love you to bits. And yeah, it was again another one of those like let's show other people who Perth is, and like video is I'm actually like doing this is like for me
bit of a flashback.
Well, no, not a flashback. I just actually feel a bit self-conscious when doing these sort of things. But
we're just kicking back on the couch, man.
I know, yeah. I'm drinking at a furious rate, though, just to nullify it.
That's cool.
But it was fun, and I think I can't remember the reason why it finished, but like with a lot of things like that, I guess commercial reasons probably. Yeah. It's difficult to. I think the idea was to try to get that to the East Coast and try and make them interested about what's happening here, and it's a tough thing because I think the East Coast can be a little bit obsessed with itself, and that's probably harsh in some ways, but it's a natural thing, isn't it? Like, you pay attention to what's close around you.
In your radius,
So fair call. Like, no wonder Sydney is very obsessed about Sydney and Melbourne and etc. And but for me, it's kind of like discovering things around not just the nation but around the world is the exciting thing about media, I suppose, is grabbing these stories that aren't floating in your ether,
Yeah.
but rather grabbing them from out of the boundary, I guess, and,
Yeah.
and bringing them into there, and people are like,
Making them
wow,
aware.
I didn't realise that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just a bit of a quick recap, rather.
Yeah.
So we've heard about the educator side of Aarom, the radio Aarom, the TV Aarom, but you've also done a decade or so in the print game. Now we've already mentioned the Murdoch Uni Mag, so let's head straight into those most amazing group of companies: Street Press Australia, Drum Perth,
With an amazing salesperson.
I know, yes, yep, and the music.com.au. So now, can you explain what you did in those roles and how you ended up in them?
Yeah, shout outs to Bruner, I guess, and there was a bunch of people, but our collective bosses came over to
Lee and Craig Trewick. G'day,
Perth,
guys.
great dudes.
We had a lot of fun there. Yep.
Edit that out.
Yeah.
So yeah, they came over to to Perth looking to expand the SPA empire, and yeah, like they held very similar philosophies of what I love doing, which was, like, I remember one of our first meetings is like, it was about, like, we're going to create this street press here, and we want you to be the person that links it to the local kind of, we want to promote the artists that are here, and we also want to make them bigger over east.
Sure.
And for me, that was like, perfectly in terms of in line with my philosophy. And so yeah, it was Bruna, who I mentioned before. They came over and kind of, started asking some people. She was one of the main people, I think, because she had a bit of trust and a bit of a relationship with them. And then a couple of other people mentioned my name. And next thing you know, they were stupid enough to hire me.
Yeah, as the editor-in-chief?
Not in the beginning.
Initially.
No, I was like the local editor or, assistant editor.
Yeah.
The dance editor as well. So... yeah, I guess I've liked all kinds of music, so I'm as much a band person as I am an electronic person.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I was just kind of doing a bit of both, and it was a great experience. And I moved up, and in the end, like, because there was always sort of two editors, and in the end, I'm probably a bit of a control freak. To my detriment in this case, where I was like, well, rather than hiring, like another editor, like, let's just do one editor and I'll do it all kind of thing. Yeah. And I didn't sleep for a couple of years after that.
Yeah, fantastic. It was good. But a lot of fun along the way. Speaking of which, there would have been plenty of highlights in those roles. So aside from getting to work with me, of course,
number one,
absolutely,
number one,
every day. So any
don't
moments?
answer that. It's out.
So yeah, have you got any specific highlights from your time there?
Specific highlights. I'll bring you into this because I went to, was it your hometown at the time? I can't remember, but it was one. I think maybe it was the second. So so you didn't get paid that much.
Yeah.
Do not enter media if you expect to get paid a lot. Well, certainly that kind of media anyway.
Street press.
Grassroots. And so one of the things they do is dangle carrots, and I'm preaching to the converted. And it'd be like, we'll take you everywhere. You'll not need to buy beers, and you'll not need to pay entry to this. And I'm like, man, this sounds like dynamite. And, you'll get $5 an hour, and I'm still listening to the last conversation.
You still listen to the free beer,
I'm like, sign me up. Idiot. And anyway, one of the highlights though was going to the Christmas party.
Oh yeah.
And so we get flown over, and it'd be the cheapest plane ticket though, and you'd have a deadline, and it'd be like
you're on the wing seat.
Yeah,
like actually on the wing.
I mean, you're in the cargo holding.
Yeah, exactly.
In a suitcase, they smuggle you in, like SPA suitcase.
You're the one that's going to put his finger in the hole. Like, can you just stand there for the next 4 hours? Yeah.
And so anyway, got there, and I can't sleep on planes, and I was probably like finishing off some work for SPA as well on the plane. And they're like, "Oh, how was your flight?" And you're like, haven't slept, and we got in at I don't know, 6 a.m. or whatever.
Oh, it was a red eye, was it?
Yeah,
right,
red eye,
that's a nightmare, that flight.
And so with deadlines, I'm probably bad at managing time, and I'm always like, there's something more to do, so I'll just stay up for as long as it takes. And anyway, so you get to the end of deadline, and normally you would have a sleep the next day, but instead caught the plane, no sleep, get to the office, and it's like, okay, so you got to work a bit today, and I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
You know, it was like 1 p.m. or whatever, like going to this bar, and it's kind of like, for Perth people, maybe the equivalent of like a Brisbane or something like that, where it's, you know, like not fancy, but sort of like there's a certain level of decorum kind of thing there, and you know, ladies wearing fancy dresses and me looking unfancy as well. And anyway, and Craig Trainwreck, our boss at the time, or one of two, very serious individual.
He's a pretty full on dude.
Particularly then, he's like chilled out lately, but he's like one of those guys that instills fear, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, like if you saw that the phone was from Craig Trainwreck, you're like,
will I answer it? Not today.
I quit.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he was handing around. So I've had no sleep, and I think I had one beer or something, and he hands around a thing of what's the black drink? The
like Black Sambuca?
Yeah, Black Sambuca.
Yeah.
I can't do that. There's very few tastes that I don't love.
I love them.
But it's like, you know, like, freak out kind of thing. And he's one of those very imposing sort of people. So he's like, So he hands a tray and he's like, congratulations for the year kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Greg. Sorry, no, I'm good, thanks. And he's like, no.
Congratulations.
Drink it, you little cunt.
Right, okay, yeah.
Pardon my
that's all right, it's a podcast.
It was his.
So. Yeah, it was his friend.
And I'm like, no, honestly, man, Craig, like, I can't, like, I hate the stuff, like, I'll be sick, like.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you want to work with this company?
Right.
Like Scarface, kind of like, delivering the, you know, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
2 seconds later, and like I was saying, it's at a kind of a classy-ish place.
Yeah.
Vomited
no
in a pot
way. Jesus Christ.
It's like my second drink as well, and I'm like, oh man.
The Melbourne crew have been going, oh bloody Perth
people can't handle it.
2 drinks in. Shit. Did anyone see? Like, everybody. Everyone saw, right. Oh, fuck. That is gold. I'll have to try and find out what that venue was. I can't remember it. Like, which
it was upstairs. I'm sure you were there.
Yeah.
Upstairs in, not sure, it was maybe 10 minutes away from the office.
From the office, yeah. I will find out and I'll let you know. I'll speak to Lee. I'll give Lee a call.
Please don't get the video footage of that if it exists.
Yeah, exactly. That poor plant. Now, you've also done 4 years as a journalist with Scoop Publishing over here in Perth. So for those of you that don't live in Perth, Scoop is kind of like... at a minimum, you could say they produce very fancy lifestyle magazines. Is that how you describe? Well, I'm sure you could give a better description than that, or is that?
Man, they did, yeah. And I was doing it when the magazine trade, and it is just such an interesting one because I love the actual the. Oh, hang on, we've got the jazz.
Oh, we forgot to switch off the music after that.
And so, yeah, basically the sort of the feeling of reading something that is produced and there's a certain kind of attention that I've found that I've given it as opposed to internet scroll, flick, gone kind of thing. And so I think it's a sad but inevitable kind of thing that or situation that we're placed in now. So SPA, like I finished up basically when they started to go online, and you know that was one of the things that I loved about it. But in terms of the costs and like the greater conversation is what happens to journalism, I think.
Of course, yeah.
So when everyone's a journalist, because people are reading information on Instagram and Snapchat and all these kind of different mediums that you would never think of as media, but the new generations are that's their experience of how they get information. Yeah. And I'm like not podcasts
and YouTube, like what we're doing right now. Yeah. A little bit ironic.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like, so you can't read a magazine, whereas you can go for a jog or go to work and pretend you're doing work, but you're actually listening to a podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
The Our Black Show.
Yeah, exactly. .com.
Yeah. So, you know, times have changed, and I feel like the problem with that is that the role of the journalist these days is becoming so transmuted and so kind of like denigrated to the point where it's like, why would I believe what that person says when all my friends say this on like it's like you don't read a review more so these days than people on Facebook giving it a bad review, or you know that kind of thing. And it's like, but hang on here, like that's people that, and not dissing their experience because it's all part and parcel of it, and everyone has an opinion, all that kind of stuff. But when you're actually taking away the people that are professionals in those areas and that have experience and knowledge and skills and all those kind of things, that they are suddenly becoming on the outer. They're actually totally. like, oh, listen to that, you know, boring review or whatever, like, you know, waving his walking stick or whatever. I feel like, unfortunately, that's the way. And so when that happens, truth becomes a very tangible, floating
rubbery
sort of exactly.
Well, I mean, we were just,
and it's sad.
A case in point, we were out for dinner with friends just last weekend, and they were talking about our local paper here, the West, and they said, oh, you know, we love it, you know, but the only thing that's annoying about it is, you know, when you're online, they've got that paywall now, you know, you got to pay, and we were kind of like,
it's like $1 a day as well, which is
pretty reasonable, like
pretty reasonable in our terms, but if you think about young people, and so that's where markets exist, right? Oh, sorry, I totally cut.
Oh no, sorry, I was just gonna say that, and then it was kind of like, well, journalists have families and mortgages, and you've got to pay. Like
it's actually,
you know, like but people go to uni and get degrees in it, you know, like so. I mean, you know, and they were like, oh yeah, I hadn't really thought about it like that, you know. So, So.
Because everyone's kind of a journalist, I think, in this day and age, and that is actually true. Like everyone is a creator, a journalist is just someone with an opinion that writes stuff down or conveys it to audiences. So everyone is a journalist, but there is a profession of a journalist, and I think that's kind of being lost. And you know, in 15 years from now, who are you going to actually believe when there's no one being paid to actually search the truth? Yeah, and that's my issue with it.
Watch that space. It's going to be.
I don't want it, man. There'll be all this information coming at you, and you've got to actually then research whether it's true. And that's a fucked state of society.
I just watched the new series called The Loudest Voice.
Yeah, okay.
And it's the story of the guy Roger Ailes that started Fox News.
Oh, right, okay.
You want to watch that? Right. It's cool. Really good. But,
what's it called? Sorry,
it's called The Loudest Voice.
The Loudest Voice. Cool.
Yeah. So I'll tell you about it. I'll remind you about it afterwards. So
sorry, I'm a multitasker. I'll still listen to you as
you're punching that one in. Yeah, it's got Naomi Watts, and it's got Russell Crowe, and it's got Seth MacFarlane.
Oh, so it's a movie.
It's a seven episode series.
Oh, sorry, series. I thought you meant it was a documentary.
No, 7 episode series. It's definitely worth watching. And there's another lady in there as well. I've forgotten who. Anyway, now around this time, you're also one of the holders of a rather large set of purse strings in your role as, now wait for it because this is a bit of a mouthful, Contemporary Music and Creative Industries Funding Panel Assessor for the WA State Government Department of Culture and the Arts. I reckon I need to lie down.
We need a break.
Another break.
Let's go eat an apple.
I know, exactly, another one. So what's that all about? Like, I know what it's about, but can you tell us a bit more about?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't have intimate knowledge of how it works in different states, but WA is one of the things. So there's something in the water. Actually, one of the things that we do really well is supporting in terms of funding for our artists. So. Yeah, there's a good system in place in the WA government that they give funds to this whatever that was called. Which has changed to.
I'm not going to read that again.
Department of man, it's even worse now. It's Department of Sports, Games, Liquor, and I don't know what it is, but anyway, DLGC. And yeah, so if you're an artist that is up and coming and you have a reason to apply for funding that will actually enhance your career, then that's where that's in place, is to support those and nurture those artists that have an ability to have bigger audiences.
Yep.
So that might be whether it's through touring or through an album or whatever have you. And it's a good thing that kind of encourages that creative, because it's bloody tough. Like, I used to manage bands, and in terms of the income that those bands received, I mean, it's nothing. Like, you're on the breadline, and you're getting paid absolutely nothing. So to have something like that will actually kind of say, we'll support you and help you and try and make that vision a reality, is a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they don't even have that in some states. I don't know,
I don't think they do. I mean, they've got similar-ish grants I've heard of, but I think WA's like the most supportive of that kind of thing,
and that, I mean, we'll get to this other point in a second, but I've often thought that about Paratha. Is it because it's so far away from everything else that there's that sort of need for making sure that putting more emphasis on things like that. So now I reckon that some of the people that aren't watching this on YouTube and they're just listening, they must think you're in your 60s or something by now, by the number of jobs that we've been going through. But obviously a lot.
Like we've only still like quite early.
Well, I've still got a couple of pages.
Man, you're reminding me of jobs that I forgot about.
It's like you can see that sort of distant look in your eye. It's like, that's right, I did do that. But obviously a lot of these jobs were done concurrently.
Yes.
So I guess that stops you.
I've always had multiple jobs kind of going on.
So it's handy if you get bored easily or whatever. It's just like the minute you're getting bored of one, it's bang, it's time.
I'm an ADD kind of person.
I kind of gathered that.
Like I have to listen to you asking a question whilst patting dogs.
Exactly.
Two things at once.
And you've got two dogs to pat as well.
Exactly. That's why we've got two dogs. It's something to do with
you
both
get bored of
hands.
one and then just switch to the other. So I'll preface this next question with the last point, because this next role I'm going to bring up took place during the 5 years from 2012 to 2017, when you were doing a bunch of other stuff. So this was the role of, and this is another mouthful, Marketing and Communications Officer for the West Australian Music Association, aka WAM. So what is WAM, and what exactly did you do for them?
So again, I guess there's definitely a developing theme of supporting and nurturing, whether it be artists or people or whatever. And WAM is so there's one of those in every state. And they all collectively, their mission, I guess, is to nurture and try to help grow the music industry. And WAM, I love what they did at that time, but I thought I could do it better. And I kind of jumped on board and was lucky enough to give the opportunity, because as we were talking about journalism and sort of that dying thing, I was like feeling like it was, and after I left, sure enough, like a couple of months after, I think it went or started to delve into that online, like you could see where it was going, and that Perth was going to be cut off, and I felt that pressure of like there's Perth's a small place, there's only nowhere you can go really. After I could have gone to the West Australian if that was something I wanted to do, in terms of like that could have been a goal, but I was like I don't really want to, and plus the dude there, Simon Collins, never going to leave, so so there's nowhere that you can do, so I'm like, okay, so I'm going to reverse this and kind of like being a student of life, use my knowledge of like marketing from what I've learned through the experience of being an editor and seeing what works and what artwork and numbers and statistics and sort of that mathematical side of me kind of kicked in, and did that, and it was a great move. Like I learned a lot, and I was working for a great organisation. And
so were you pushing? Were you marketing the bands and the artists?
Like, not specifically the bands themselves. Yes, but it's more about so like WAM's not a organisation that no exactly. They don't pick favourites as such, but they allow a kind of a It's sort of like how would you describe it? I guess it's like a situation where you're giving them information. So so for bands, they're like one of the stupidest questions that you get all the time is my band's not famous. Like, how do I become like? It's like that is the dumbest ass question ever. Like, but here are some things that you need to think about.
Yeah, all right.
So you need to think about your branding. You need to think about perfecting your craft. You need to, and so for us, it was about giving opportunities to actually do those things. So through the conference and through workshops and through, general information.
Sure.
My role in terms of marketing was about, okay, so here's an interesting, I don't know, article or whatever. Let's, show other people that article so that they can learn from it.
Right,
but ultimately, your destiny is in your own hands.
Yeah.
Like, and so that was the frustrating thing, I guess, is that people are like, "Wham, don't do anything for me." They've like, I'm still
not famous.
I've been playing in a band for 5 years, and I'm still playing in a shitty dive, and it's like, well, maybe because
you want us to play the instruments for you as well.
So yeah.
Any funny stories from back then, the Wham days? Or was it a bit more serious?
Oh man, no. Like, I don't know. It's a bit of a funny one because I left there and to be like put it on the table, I guess I became a little bit disillusioned by the sort of like the music industry in general. Like, I love it and I'm very passionate about it, and but when you've spent that many years doing it for so long, and you kind of like, again, like I'm like in between ambitious and wanting to make a difference. So, but when you get to a certain point and you're like, man, like there's only so many nights that I can be out and have someone saying dumbass questions but also how serious everyone takes themselves sometimes as well, and it's like,
gotta loosen up,
man. Like, like it's not the be all and end all. Like, you're doing this because it's a passion and it's fun, and like when it becomes your life and that's all you're sort of focused on. Like I never chose to go into the music industry. Like like when I went to uni, I kind of like, I went into, I kind of enrolled in marketing and went into my first thing, which was statistics. And I'm like,
see, that's a tough
I'm
one.
going to be fucked if I'm going to like do maths again for my first like session at uni. Went straight to the pub and someone was talking about media. It was like,
I'll take that one.
What happened?
Yeah.
And like music was something that I obviously love, but there's many different facets of life, and so for me, I guess just 100% music all the time was starting to limit my feeling of personal growth.
Sure. Because you also did a bi-weekly radio gig with ABC, their drive time show. So how was that? Again, was that a drunken night at the pub that got you that one? I'm guessing maybe not.
How did that happen?
The ABC.
I'm not sure, but it was good times. Like, I mean, I guess any platform, and so I'm I don't know, like a weird looking character. So if you're talking about like Nova and Triple J and ABC, and they're very different target audiences.
Totally.
But I think that is something that I strive to do anyway, is to be able to communicate to different audiences in ways that are relatable. Except for this podcast is totally unrelatable. That asshole. That podcast.
Around the time that you start with RTR, that's also when it's almost like the elephant in the room. The one thing we haven't mentioned yet, really, the DJing. So you started that back in about 2005, I think, and since then you've done countless venues, festivals, you name it. Where are you playing these days, and what are some of the highlights of your DJ career?
Yeah, sure. So I'm working at, like, in terms of residencies at Besk at the moment, which is a new great bar, which is real dangerous because they have like amazing beers.
Yeah,
It's like it's one of those beer things that you got to take a photo and take it back and then select it, because otherwise you'd be staring like and annoying the bartenders. So
shout out to Elliot and Morgan.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're clients of mine in my normal job. But so Elliot's got Main Liquor out near the airport, which is a specialist craft beer.
It.
So that's been a good gig, because they've only been open a month.
Yeah, and it's just an awesome place, really. Really good people, and then Longshim. Speaking about really good people, those guys are, they're amazing. Like I think yesterday or the day before, they just won the best cocktail bar in, was it Australia or maybe WA? Anyway, make amazing cocktails. Like the guy there, Dean, is a real genius when it comes to working in interesting flavors. Again, I should start DJing at places where it's like, oh no, we just serve like
normal drinks. Like, I was gonna say it was dangerous at best with the beers, and now it's dangerous.
And usually it's like a 5-hour set as well. So
that's a lot of cocktails.
Sort of I've learned very quickly not to partake in Dean's amazing cocktails.
Yeah, maybe until the last hour or something, and then get stuck into it.
But they're really fun, and it's
Scarborough
like
Beach Bar.
Before. I was doing that for maybe 6 months or something.
Because as with a lot of gigs in Perth, when it comes to June, the gig stops because it's winter. You get that sort of 4 months when and I think Scarborough Beach Bar, with being where it is on the beach, it's one of those ones that.
Did you DJ there?
Yeah, I've played there quite a few times. So
is it just me, or did they have the music so low?
They had the music so low. I remember that. I took over from you one day, and you were like, "Dude, the levels are so low." And the dude doesn't want to put them up. And I was like,
they'd be like, "Oh, turn it up," and I'm like, "You turn it up."
Yeah, exactly.
It was a kind of a frustrating place, because it is amazing views and etc. But I think in terms of like a good place you want to play at is, for me, a couple of the ingredients is great staff, and a vibe that you can kind of vibe with. You know, did I say vibe with a vibe?
Yes, you did. It's like, is that
edit that shit?
Is that like the grammar equivalent of double denim?
With the vibe, man. But it's one of those things of so you go into a place and people seem open to what you're doing, and they can hear it, and which you didn't get at that place. So you kind of like look around, and you're like, people are just like straight up eating their schnitzel, and you're like, there's no looks or whatever, and it's kind of like you feel like a little bit weird going through the motions.
But new owners down there now, and I think so I'm thinking that the procedures they might have put in place in the last few months to get ready for this summer, so maybe it might be a little bit different. Nice. So
that's your pitch to DJ.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be back on the phone.
Hi guys, I think you're great.
Remember me?
The schnitzel is delicious.
Actually, again, speaking about the DJ thing, you got highlights from, because you've done festivals and all sorts of things as well. Like, you got any favourite moments or funny moments again? Or
I guess playing with friends is always a good thing. Like, I'm a bit of a control freak in life, I guess. Like, I like to manage things and to be, it's like me, that I'm responsible, that if I fuck up, it's me. Whereas when you play with other people, it's kind of like that camaraderie of like, if you fuck up, we all fuck up.
Let's fuck up together.
Trainwreck.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so that's always fun. Like, don't do. Actually, we were talking about like shared friends before of Andy Scully.
Yes.
And that was a classic when he took over the Dean. And for some godforsaken reason booked me and Craig Hollywood.
Right.
And we were playing the Dean, which is like very unfamiliar territory. Let's put it
it's
like
pretty commercial,
nicely like that. And we were banging out some like very not commercial
minimalist techno or something.
But it was just fun. I mean, apart from the fact that we argued like all hell.
What you and Andy or you and Craig?
Me and Craig.
Right.
Like
you can't play
a
that
married couple, like but like a bad married couple.
But
also the best married couple.
Right.
So that's Craig. Love you.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've been at this for a while. We're almost at the end. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you might wanted to make mention of, or?
Yeah, I guess I haven't been into my family story, which the son is actually expiring at the moment, so I won't go into. But, I'll definitely give shout outs to my mum and also my dad who have, and sorry, this is like super cheesy, but have definitely shaped me into the person that I am. So I guess with our family, we've had some pretty heavy duty
Ups and downs. Yep.
More serious, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like we're talking about. Look, we've got through this interview without talking about it.
Yeah,
so I'll just leave it at that. But through all of the situations that happened, like I would never take any of it back because it's actually made me who I am. So I'd like to thank them for my mum made some mistakes in like her earlier days that have made me learn to look after people and help people, and for that I guess I'm very thankful.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
About that. And also my wife, of course, who
Yes.
inspires me constantly, even when she's in Congo helping save people.
So just quickly, let's. How did you? Because I mean, you guys are quite a unique couple, I suppose.
Yeah.
How did you get together? And tell us a bit more about Sashi.
Yeah, she's I guess the honest truth of it was when. So I remember because when I first saw her, I was like, man, that is like.
Where and when?
Wow. Usual story, like
drunk in a bar. Yeah.
And but like it was something like wow. And in fact, it was a bit awkward because. One of a relationship that I've been in for a year or two, and she's like, it basically ended because she realised that I was in love with Sashi.
Yeah, wow.
And that was a thing that I hadn't even realised, and she'd realised that, and I'm like,
right.
I guess I am, and I thought I'd got over this because when I first met her, it was before I'd got together with this girl, and anyway, so we were really good friends for a while, and to cut a long story short, she thought I was a player, and to be fair,
she did have a point.
I'm not going to say a player.
Right.
I was playing a lot of chess at the time.
Yeah.
Moves here, and there.
And
I was probably not at a level of maturity or depth even, I guess. And then she got together with a friend of ours. And I was like, man,
devastated.
Kind of drew our friendship circle apart a little bit.
Yeah.
And then she came back she was in London, and we hung out. She didn't even see her family and stuff. And we just hung out for 3 days solid. Nothing happened. Went to China to meet my mum, who was living over there. And I'm like, this girl, all this sort of stuff. Came back to Perth, didn't message her, and again at a bar.
Yeah, right.
Went in and didn't tell her, but she knew that I was coming back, and went in, got together with someone that happened to be a friend.
Oh no! Oops.
Treat him mean, keep him keen kind of scenario, maybe.
Right.
Of for her, I don't think,
So you're pretty lucky to have actually, yeah.
But and a couple of weekends later, we got together, and she's just a person that inspires me, that keeps me in touch with reality, that checks my head, that is extremely humble, that is extremely intelligent.
Because she's got a full-on job.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us?
She's a doctor. We were trying to think of I need a shirt yes, my wife is a doctor, and yes, she's away again.
Yeah.
Just so I don't have to deal with that conversation.
Yeah, because I was guilty of it today. I walked out, I'm like, oh, Sashi's not here. Oh, but where is she this time? And you were like, Paris, but then she's going to the Congo or something.
Yeah. So she's a humanitarian, and she's very, very giving and caring, nurturing person, and I guess we have that in common. But she takes it to extreme levels of going into places where like I'll care and I'll try and nurture.
Yeah.
But if someone's like got gun threats and like a political crisis where people are dying of like diseases that are contactable, then no, count me out, man. I'm just gonna hang at home doing an interview with Al Black.
Absolutely. I'm not getting in that
pretend I'm all tough. But she's something. So I never thought I'd fall in love, and like I guess I thought I'll just have some fun for the rest of my life, and then I met her, and I was like, wow, this is what love is.
Fantastic.
Sound cheesy as all hell.
No, just before we wrap up, because we do have that one question at the end that I do like to ask everyone, and that is their favourite party story of all time. But I just wanted to make mention of. Do you want to just read out your who you are on Instagram, because you guys have the best photos I think of anybody else that I know online. It's like just the funniest. Like they're fantastic. So if someone wants to check them out,
that is so funny, because you wonder whether anyone is just liking it because it's idiotic.
No, well, it is, but it just looks like you couldn't give a fuck. Dear. That's
But it's weird that, right? Because I think like there's certain elements of you that you project, right? And so for me, Facebook and Instagram and stuff is just like having a laugh and taking a piss. Yeah. Whereas I think some people actually think that's who you are. You put that out, and that's the information that they get and they process, and they're like, wow, he's a really fucking crazy dickhead. Which is also probably true. But it's like So at least I got one person that is going into the depth. Of
everyone else thinks you're an idiot, and it's just like, but So
Aarom Wilson is my name.
Aarom Wilson. Yep.
And then we started a lovers thing. But Wolfgang and Naji, or reverse. Hey, buddy. So. What was
That's where you found them. So the last question.
Yeah.
Your favourite ever party story that you're happy to talk about on the show.
So last night we had some drinks, and there were a couple of close friends that I asked about this story.
Oh, okay, right.
And so this has been like...
I thought you were going to go, it was last night. I was like, Jesus, like...
Well, that could be... Like, every night is a pretty funny story.
In Aarom's world.
And that was the problem. That was like how do you pick a moment? So and the stories that these guys relayed were just like... I don't think we can video record that. Let's put it like that.
Right.
As we've shared some video recordable sort of stories as well, probably. But anyway, I'm going to go back though to where it all began, and the inspiration for having fun and enjoying life, I guess, which and not taking things too seriously off the back of that social media thing is my very oldest and dearest friend, Hoey. He best dude. Him and his mate Scotty, who good friend as well, and they a little bit crazy. That's probably what drew me to them. And they're like coming up with crazy ideas all the time. This one was like, so I was starting to get into music and stuff, and discovering that there's a world outside Gosnells. And it's really fun. and they're like, they were working at McDonald's at the time, and they had like a staff card, and they're like, so we've got this idea. We're gonna grab our staff cards and pretend they're VIP things for Mudslinger, which was a festival at the time at Murdoch Uni. And anyway, I'm like, man, that is the dumbest fucking idea. And then, no, we've stolen you a card, or sorry, borrowed a card. And we've got this, and just put in your photo and stuff, and you're like, we'll be sweet. And I'm like, fucking idiots. Man.
Dumb and dumb.
We're just starting to go into gigs, and I already know that's just
not going to fly. No.
Anyway, so I just took the piss, as I often do, which is put in cut out a picture of Bert and Ernie. And so not only one person even, but this is both of me, and just take the piss, and they didn't get the joke and went to the gig, and I let them go first, and just to watch them get rejected and laugh. Anyway, as that was happening, I just strutted in, because I couldn't give a fuck.
So did your mates get in?
And they got rejected.
Right.
I got in with my Bert and Ernie.
No way.
And so we're at backstage with, and you know, I was like 17, I think, at the time, or 16 or whatever. And man, it was like Beck at the time.
Wow,
Odelay was out, and it was like an amazing album. And I was just like, oh my god, like in terms of music, yeah, like that probably sparked up a lot of passion. And I was just like, oh my god, like a god of mine, kind of at that stage of my life. I'm on stage, like literally his sweat's like flying onto me, and I'm just like.
This is as good as it gets.
Like Bert and Ernie, like
So you think the security would have been more on the ball because they just checked something and they go, right, that's bullshit, and then their senses would have been heightened for the next bullshit one. But
and that's the thing. Like I realized at that point in time that it's you know, like how you kind of handle yourself in life. So if you you know, like act like you're meant to be there, kind of thing, but in a way that you don't really care that much, like don't get too hung up on the things in life, and just be yourself and just go like whatever happens kind of thing. But you know, like you'll probably enjoy life more than you would if you're like really like focused on we've got to do this and we're gonna get in and we're gonna like, you know, whereas I was just like whatever happens and cool, and like and be confident in your own self, I guess, as well as the other thing. You know, I was like
But in saying that, you've probably never tried it again with Bert and Ernie, I'm guessing. That was a one-off time, was it?
Well, I mean, probably my peak time was when this is really bad to admit, but you know, we were all broke and young at one point, and I had no money, but I had a friendship circle in the same kind of situation, and but we wanted to go and check out and discover and blah blah and party. And so I became like, I was, you know, decent with a pen, and I became the pen drawer. Like, you know,
drawing
like as far as stamps, like, so there'd be some like quite intricate stamps, and I'm like, don't worry, I got it. Like,
like for drinks or
no, to get into places.
To get in, right,
which I would not recommend, because I mean, you're taking away from the artist that's there, and you're, you know, you're not funding that, which it's a fuck thing, but you know, anyway, I did it, and then it got to a peak where like the sort of being confident or whatever, and walked in, and I'm like, yep, there's my stamp, and he's like, it's like a blank arm, and he's like,
there's nothing there.
That'll be $20 or whatever, and I'm like, no, mate, like right there.
Yeah.
And he's like looking at I'm like, mate, you fucking dickhead, like, come on, and just walked in.
Right.
And like, he's just like,
oh, what happened there? Like, next guy.
Like,
Gold.
So but don't do that.
I was going to say,
it's actually really bad.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I it's a very embarrassing.
But I think everyone at some stage, when you've got no money on a particular week and you really want to go out or whatever, you do have a crack. You know?
And also when you realise as well, I mean, like, God, I paid mountains of cash towards artists that I love. So as long as you support those artists, it's like, man, we live in this age of streaming and all this kind of stuff. Like, actually buy an album, or actually buy some merch, or go see a concert, or, you know, like support the arts in any form. Yeah,
that's a good one to finish with.
Done.
Aarom, thank you very much for taking the time. Cheers, buddy.
Nice.
Bang.
Bang. Oh man, that was like.